Choosing a school is really difficult, but I have never felt like I should have gone somewhere else.
The thing I like about the school, the class sizes are smaller.
Making friends is easier here because of the fact that you are such a tight-knit community.
I was shooting around a basketball. That's how I met my first friend.
You meet a lot of new people from different areas of the world.
I feel like I've grown so much here.
And there's so many amazing people that work here to learn from.
I definitely made the right decision coming to Husson.
It's time for Husson University basketball on the Husson Eagles Sports Network. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Performance PT, designing a healthier you. Greenway Equipment Sales at Ellsworth and Bangor. Nothing runs like a deer. Governor's Restaurant. Life is short. Eat dessert first. And Casella, giving resources new life. And now, from the Newman Gymnasium, it's Husson Eagles basketball.
Welcome back to the campus of Husson University and the Newman Gymnasium. We're about to get underway here as the Husson University Eagles take on the SUNY Delhi Broncos for the first game of 2023. Hopefully you all had a good holiday season and a happy new year. I'm Avery Henningsen alongside Tyler Huey. Huey, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good. We're finally back here for some home basketball. It's been roughly a month it feels like?
Just around there, and we'll get right back to you in a minute here as we'll take a break for the national anthem. And the Eagles enter this contest at 7-4, while the Broncos are 2-11. Both teams are about to enter the conference matchup part of their schedule, which often shows the true talent of a lot of these teams in North Atlantic Conference, Huey. That you often see teams potentially start around 500 and then they hit that knack part of the schedule and can really pick it up.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I've really seen a lot with our men's basketball team here. You know, and Kissy and Warren both do a good job of scheduling those tough non-conference games, but then you get to conference play and it really prepares them for it. So be curious to see how playing the NESCAC schools, how playing WPI sets up this team.
And Richards makes the first basket of the night as the Eagles will take the first 3-0 lead of this game. About 20 seconds off the clock so far. The interesting thing to note in this one, Huey, is that Delhi coming into this one only has 6 players who suited up for this game, and it's going to be a long haul for them here tonight.
Yeah, and one thing to note, too, I don't really remember the last time the Eagles have lost a conference matchup here. So I think it's safe to assume that the Eagles are going to be favored today, and you like to see him get on the board right off, just like what Richards did.
And the Broncos are moving the ball around here as Bryant loses it there to Richards, who's taking up the middle of the court. She works her way over to Montigny. Montigny back to Richards, to Duarte, to Porter in the corner, who's going to take a shot off the front of the rim there. Rebounded by Donovan and up and in, 5-0 Eagles, as the Eagles' best player there in Bailey Donovan gets her first points of the game. And Donovan is someone, Tyler, who has certainly already had a great start to her season, even during that difficult part of their schedule.
Yeah, I got to first mention, I apologize, Avery. I did not mean to hit the mute button on you when I was unmuting myself. But yeah, this is her senior year for Bailey Donovan. I think she's got 1 or 2 more years due to COVID, and while teams have learned how to attack the Eagles, Bailey's learned how to counter that.
And she's someone that in this conference, it's very difficult to guard her. That you see a lot of players at the D3 level who are around that 5'4" to 5'8" height, but Donovan listed here on around 6'4", but I think it's probably a lot taller than that, Tyler. That she's a force in the paint that is very difficult to guard, and when you do try to guard her, it seems to lead to a lot of fouls, and she's very talented from the free throw line as well.
And you can watch here on the replay of Hannah Richards and one. Bailey's got 2 defenders on her to allow Richards to get into the lane. And that's been the secret to trying to attack Bailey, is get numbers on her, and then for the Eagles' sake, hope that the open player can make the shot.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not always what the player's doing on the ball, but off the ball, that if she's demanding a double team out there, it leaves somebody else who's going to be open somewhere around the arc. As Donovan gets that rebound, she works it over to Montigny, to Richards, all the way over to Duarte. The Porter is going to take one just inside the arc. Donovan gets the rebound, misses the first one, up and in for the second one as the Eagles go up 10-2.
And I think you're seeing it right there. The tallest player that SUNY Delhi listed is 5'11". And Bailey, like you mentioned, 6'4", although I think she told me one time she's actually 6'5". So, or 6'6", or whatever it is. So, it's going to be a struggle, I think, tonight for SUNY Delhi. And you're just going to...
We've definitely seen it in a lot of the Eagles games where teams that don't have that height that can match up to Donovan struggle inside, that even if she misses the first one, like you saw there, she can oftentimes get the second one, as I believe it's Flansburgh you mentioned, who's 5'11", listed on this roster. I'm not even sure if she's suiting up tonight for the Broncos. It doesn't look like she's on the bench or out on the court. And that leaves them with no player over 5'5" on the roster who can match up against a player who, like you said, is somewhere in that 6'6" to 6'8" range. As Richards is going to take another 3 short of the basket there and rebounded. Has some nice recovery defense there by Richards to knock that one out and stop the fast break.
Yeah, I think Hannah Richards is going to be a contender for Rookie of the Year this year. The freshman from Bradley, Maine, played at Old Town High School. They've always been a perennial Class B threat to win the state title every year. She's averaging just under 10 points a game and has really had some big games where she scored 12, she scored 18.
And that's Richards there, who knocks one in off of the backboard. And that, I believe that's her 5th point of this game, or 8th point of this game, as she's really doing it all for the Eagles right now.
There's no better feeling than when you talk about a player and then they go to score like that.
And that was Pablawi, who just knocked down a corner 3 there for the Broncos, and that gets them back within 8. And it's important to note, too, here that Husson currently is on still part of their winter break schedule, so this gymnasium is definitely not quite as rowdy as we're used to, Tyler.
Yeah, you definitely have that right. We're used to this section right under us being loud as can be, and most of the fans here are parents, or we got a lot of coaches here tonight, which is always cool to see coaches supporting other teams' programs.
Yeah, it's a very good turnout for a frosty and sleety day out there in Bangor in mid to early January.
That's the thing. I think SUNY Delhi is getting the Maine experience.
They certainly are.
Traveling up on Thursday throughout slush and sleet and snow, and then all day today. And then this SUNY Delhi team, both the men and the women, are going 3 hours more north to Presque Isle. So who even knows how the snow is up there at this point?
Yeah, it's a completely different animal when you leave that Penobscot County area and get up into northern Maine. That you saw there, Donovan hit her first 2 free throws of this first half, as she's going to take that ball away. Works her way over to Duarte, who's taking up the middle of the court. Duarte over to McVicker, who checked in a few minutes ago, along with Lacey Scanlon. Richards takes a little jumper from right around the free throw and nets her 10th point of the game.
Yeah, she's got the shooting touch here tonight. Between her and Bailey Donovan, that's your 16 points right there. As Delhi is going to take a 30-second timeout here.
Yeah, and we'll go to a quick commercial break, as I think they're just going to want to talk this one over a little bit.
Selling is all about relationships and building trust. At Greenway, it's our people that have built the business. We're fortunate to have a team with years of experience. They know John Deere equipment inside and out and go the extra mile to take care of our customers.
And right now is a great time to talk to one of us about a new tractor. Get 0% APR financing for 72 months on a John Deere compact utility tractor. Nothing runs like a Deere.
From Greenway Equipment Sales, family owned and operated since 1994.
And welcome back to Newman Gymnasium. The Eagles have a 16-4 lead with 5 minutes left here in this first quarter. As that is Macy Beals who goes up and in there, and the rebound there makes it 2 more quick points for the Eagles out of the timeout.
Yeah, Jordan Lingo right there for the rebound. And as that's one thing Kissy Walker and the Eagles have worked on, it's recruiting other tall centers, so when Bailey's not on the court, you have Jordan Lingle there to help out with the height.
It also allows them to play sometimes in games where it's a little bit of a closer contest and they need that height advantage on some teams. You can put Lengo out there as a forward and almost have this double center thing going on that is very dangerous and hard to cover for a lot of teams.
Yeah, and then you have the threat of a lot of outside shooters like Sophie McVicker right there.
She nets her first points of this one, that corner 3. And it's a whole new group of Eagles out there after that timeout, and I think that's something we're going to see a lot of, Tyler.
And I think that's something to put the score away. This is something you're going to see pretty much every game. You know, Kissy does a really good job of everyone gets their minutes, you know, everyone knows, okay, this is my job. I'm going to come off the bench, give you 6-7 points in my 10 minutes of playing.
Yeah, there's really only a few players on this roster who play more than 25 minutes a game, and there's a lot of players who come in off that bench who can have a lot of talent out on the floor, and it doesn't detract from the team's ability.
And let me guess, there's 2 players that play more than 25 minutes a game.
What were your guesses, Tyler?
Vanessa Duard and Bailey Donovan.
That is correct.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that one.
And they have certainly earned it this season as they're Husson's 2 leading point scorers, with Donovan up to 186 on the season, as well as 140 rebounds, which is certainly she's averaging a double-double a game right now, and it's...
Yeah, and she's already almost on track with that, 6.6 rebounds today.
As we'll see an off the ball foul there, as that was Beals who got tripped up.
I hate to correct you, Avery, but it was a travel. So
Oh.
I hope it would be on the ball foul. That'd be a little awkward if the travel was off the ball.
I saw somebody fall. And this is the Broncos with the ball now. Lazo goes inside, but off of, I believe that was off the Eagles there. And
yeah, it was off Beals.
It's going to be Kablawi who's going to take this in ball here. And this game is already 21-6, and it's getting a little bit out of hand for them. Obviously, we're still very early on, but they certainly don't want to go down early in a game where they're only playing with 1 sub against a very talented Eagles team that also has a very deep bench.
Yeah, and if for SUNY Delhi, they just came off a game where they lost to Hartwick 77-16. So I think the main point is just try to improve. You know, it's a very small team and a very kind of young team with some sophomores and some freshmen. So, you know, just trying to build that experience and an opportunity for Delhi to see, all right, this is pretty much the premier of this conference. So how do we match up against them, and where do we need to work on?
Yeah, the Eagles, of course, coming off the NAC East victory last season, and they're certainly one of the teams that coming into this year were projected to finish up near the top, and they've certainly played that way so far. As McVicker's going to do a little move inside, and just a little bit behind Price there is, I think it might have just been some miscommunication from the 2 teammates out there. And that will be Kablawi's going to take this in to Jennifer Roche, who's going to lose it there out off the sideline.
Before being fouled by Macy Beals, excuse me.
So the Broncos will maintain possession of the ball. You can already see the effects of fatigue of only having 1 sub hitting him a little bit there, that there was really only 1 player moving around, and feels like the Eagles are getting to the ball first more often than not right now. That's Bryant who's going to get called for the travel call there. I got it right that time, Tyler. And McVicker's going to inbound this one to Price. The Broncos are not wasting any energy with any sort of pressure on defense on those in-balls over on the Eagles' end of the court. As that's a strong inside play there from Scanlon, who goes through a little bit of contact and lays that one up and in to make it 23-6.
Yeah, and that was actually the first points we've had in the last 2 minutes and 30 seconds for either team.
We saw some mistakes by both teams on the offensive side of the ball and a few turnovers, and feels like the Eagles are rolling a little bit. Obviously, they had just brought in a whole new group of players who sometimes it takes a second to kind of get engaged in the game, and McVicker's going to take a nice little easy layup along the end line there to make it 25-6. It's her 5th point of this one as she hit that early 3 and just laid that one up and in, as almost a nice pass there from Lazo to try to find I believe that was Roche, but just a little bit too far for her. And that is Beals over towards Price, who sends one early off the front of the basket, and that's going to be out for Broncos ball. The Eagles, on the other hand, Tyler, are playing a full court pressure right now, and it's something we've seen a lot from them, so it's not really a matchup thing, but more of just it's their defensive strategy out there. As we saw another traveling call, and I think that's 3 or 4 now we've seen from the Broncos on offense.
Brian was trying to go in for the layup and just took too many steps without dribbling. But yeah, the full court pressure by the Eagles is something typical, and it helps when you have a bench that you can run 10 or 12 in conference play and, keep fresh bodies out on the court.
And an interesting thing to note, too, is the Eagles added a new player over the winter break, Tyler, and Lauren Cook from Maine Maritime, who is one of the Eagles' rivals, so it's an interesting transfer over, but she's somebody who last season started all 24 games for Maine Maritime and shot.
And it's a good thing you mentioned that right there, because I just see her check into the table, so she's going to make her debut right after this commercial break.
5 years ago, we started this journey of recycling. And with that same ingenuity, with that same innovation, and with that same entrepreneurship, we're approaching our next 45 years. We have an obligation to figure out how we can consume less, how we can recycle more, how we can create more sustainable products, and how we help our customers enable that.
We owe it to the future generations to continue to do better and recycle better.
And back here in Newman Gymnasium, and to finish that thought we were just talking about before that break, that Cook is someone who last season started all 24 games for Maine Maritime, and she averaged almost 12.8 points per game, as well as 40% shooting and 37% from three-point range, which is very good at this level. And we're going to see here in just a moment, and it'll be interesting to see how she does out there. Obviously, she's out there with a whole new group of players, and we just saw that Coach Kissy Walker's bringing in new players constantly in this one.
Yeah, she's going to be matched up here with Hope Mulligan. But that Cook's a welcomed addition to this Eagles squad. You know, obviously the history between Maine Maritime and Husson's been there. So Cook has a general idea of how Husson plays, and Kissy also has a good understanding of Lauren Cook, as back when Cook was getting recruited, Kissy Walker and Husson was very interested in Lauren Cook. So we'll see how she can adapt to the Eagles' style play.
Yeah, and Duarte just took a shot there from just inside the three-point line. I think her toe was just over it there, and they'll make it 27-6. And we're going to see Lauren Cook's first basket for the Eagles as she makes a nice up and under play, and that was certainly a difficult layup, Tyler. She was almost under the basket on that one and had to kind of scoop it up and over. Usually you see somebody come from one side or the other on the basket, but
no, that was an impressive play. I got confused there because I was trying to figure out what the ref was signaling. I couldn't tell there, but a great pass by Martinez, and then a great layup there by Cook.
And Duarte finds Cook again, over to Martinez, and Martinez knocks one in, as those two already have a connection out there, as they've passed and assisted each other right after entering the field of play.
Yeah, Layla Martinez, a freshman from Bangor, Maine, and if you think she's a good basketball player, you should see her on the lacrosse field. She basically carried Bangor's program while she was over there.
Is she playing here at Husson, do you know?
She is, yes. Their head coach is actually here, Amanda DeHaze, and she told me that Layla is going to be a rock star on the field. So I look forward to seeing that as well.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to be a two-sport athlete in college, that you really need to be a special type of player in both the sports to get that kind of approval from the coaches to be able to play both sports during the same school year, that often the schedules overlap a little bit with training and such. But you can tell that Martinez is certainly an athlete out on the court.
And the one thing that helps her too is that the assistant coach for Amanda is Caitlin Doloff, and Caitlin was her varsity coach over at Bangor. So a lot of familiar people that she's going to be coached by.
As Martinez inbounds this to Duarte. Duarte working her way up the court, and you can see Cooks just kind of planting herself down in that bottom left corner. And it's going to be interesting to see her take one of her first long shots of this game. That in warm-ups I saw her hit several in a row from pretty deep, and she's definitely a talented shooter, and we saw in that layup too that she has what it takes underneath the basket as well.
Yeah, and this is a nice game for her to get some action in, as she did not play in Florida, but she was on the trip down there. So she got to build some chemistry with her teammates. And then this should be a good weekend for her to get adjusted to life here.
As Loring knocks down both of those free throws. And like you were saying with getting adjusted to the team, obviously this whole Husson squad has been playing together for months now, and it's hard to input a new player in there, even if they are very talented, that these players are used to each other. Some of them, they don't even have to look at each other when they pass. As Cook's first three goes off the backside of the rim, and it will be Broncos ball. But as I was saying, it's hard to sometimes get shoved right into a team and make that impact and click with your players. But like you were saying, it's a good opening game for her against an opponent that obviously isn't at full strength here tonight, and it will allow her to play some valuable minutes and get those nerves out, kind of.
Yeah, because it comes down to, and it has for as long as I can remember, all these conference games lead up to the Maine Maritime home and home. And what this does is all these minutes will prepare them for Maine Maritime. That's really what it's come down to for, I want to say 10 years now, as Vanessa hits that shot. It's really been either Husson or Maine Maritime, with last year being SUNY Poly, of course, but it's always been between those two.
As we'll have a timeout there, I believe taken by the Broncos. And
yeah, he took a 30-second timeout. The Eagles are currently have scored the last 17 points.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, Tyler, that it doesn't feel like the Broncos scoreboard there has ticked up at all in the last 10 or so minutes, it seems like that.
You want the actual number?
Oh, you
I
can
have
get
it.
The actual number.
I love sidearm. It's 7:38. They have not scored in the last just under 8 minutes here, but like we talked about, though, for SUNY Delhi, really just you're trying to improve every game. You know, this matchup's a very rough one for them on the schedule, but it will allow them, like I said, to get an idea of, all right, this is where we are as a program, and this is where we want to be. And tomorrow, they will travel up to Presque Isle, and that should be a competitive game for them. So it's really just make sure to get out of this with no injuries, and we'll see Umpy tomorrow.
Yeah, and sometimes losing big is not always a bad thing. It gives you things to work on, and it allows you to see what, like you said, what a team at its best looks like, and you can build off of that and try to copy that same type of program as Loring tries to go up and under, but that will go out there, and the Eagles are actually going to maintain possession.
We got to talk about, though, that athletic play by Laszlo there. That was a very nice layup to get SUNY Delhi back on the board.
Yeah, and if they can kind of stop that cold streak that we were just talking about, it certainly can help your team's morale, as Cook's going to take another corner three and off that same part of the rim again, as she's missed about the same area both of her three-point attempts.
And the other thing, too, about this is, like I mentioned, there's 2 freshmen, 4 sophomores, 2 juniors, and I believe 1 senior. So if you think about it, that's six underclassmen, and this is their longest road trip of the year, coming out to Maine. The 8-hour journey or whatever it could be, and especially with the snow, probably almost a 10-hour drive. This will allow these girls to get some time together, build that chemistry too.
As Cook finds Duarte, who's going to miss off the front of the rim there, and I believe Loring was fouled there on the rebound. This is going to be Schoberg, who just checked in a few minutes ago. He's going to take this one.
And there's a little bit of a concern there for SUNY Delhi as Miles Matthias has 3 fouls. That's the last thing you want to do if you're SUNY Delhi, is get into foul trouble.
Yeah, and when you only have one player on your bench who I haven't seen her in a while now. I'm not sure if she was getting attended to by the trainer or not.
Matthias?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, she just subbed it. She just got subbed out.
Yeah.
When she got that 3rd foul.
That, like you were saying, it can be dangerous for a team when you only have one substitution. You certainly don't want to get in a situation where you're going to have to take players off of the court for foul trouble. And that's the Broncos with the ball there, as Lazo's going to take one off the basket, and it'll be Eagles ball. As the Eagles brought back in most of their starters, as Duarte was in with that last group, and she'll come out with them as well, but it'll be Price replacing her with that starting group of 4.
Yeah, and you also have Macy Beals out there too.
Oh, yeah. As that was a nice shot there from Montigny to get the Eagles up 30 now with 4:55 left in this half. Lazar over to Kablawi, who's going to send one off the front of the rim there, and rebounded there by Donovan. Over to Beals, into Donovan. Donovan finds Montigny, up and in for the Eagles as they go up 40-8.
Another prime example there of, all right, if you want to double guard me, that's fine. I'll just pass it over to Montigny, who's right there for the easy layup. You look at this Eagles roster, and minus Roxanne Sasse, who we wish our best wishes to. She just had knee surgery yesterday, so we wish her nothing but the best in her recovery, and we look forward to seeing her positive energy back on the court. But her from Italy, and then Duarte from New York, everybody else is from Maine. And that's one thing. You look at these high schools, Calais, Bangor, Ellsworth. Lingle and Price are from Florida and New Hampshire, respectively. So my apologies, I missed those 2. But Southern Aroostook, Old Town, Presque Isle, those are some premier high schools when it comes to girls basketball. And being able to see them all perform at the top level in high school and then work together here is just really impressive to see.
Well, also for a lot of these players that you mentioned, a lot of towns from in and around this Bangor area that I'm sure a lot of them played on travel teams together. That the Maine basketball travel scene's not that big, so a lot of those best players who are obviously playing at the college level played each other or played with each other, and I'm sure a lot of these players have been playing together for years, even if they didn't go to the same high school.
Yeah, you talk about playing against each other. I remember Hannah Richards versus Faith Schoberg last year in the state tournament right over at the Cross Center. Old Town versus Presque Isle, and Ellsworth's obviously in that same class. Layla Martinez would have played against Bailey Donovan with Hampton Academy Bangor. So it's cool to see. It's one of my favorite things to see these top kids from the Maine schools come together. It almost somewhat is like a Maine high school all-star team. And that's just, to me, is cool to see.
That was a foul there on the Eagles, and it will remain Broncos possession. Just underneath the Eagles basket. That is inbounded towards Matthias, who, like you said, is in a little bit of foul trouble, but they don't really have any other option right now. I think if she was on the Eagles, she probably wouldn't be out on the floor right now, but with only one sub, you kind of have to play all the players you have.
No, and as a player for Delhi, you're going to want to be in this game because you want to show your abilities against one of the top teams in the conference.
As that's Price over to Beals. Montigny in the corner. Montigny finds Donovan in the middle, who misses that one, and that's not something we see all that often, as she had a player around her, but not really in her way. As at the other end of the court, the Broncos missed that opportunity. Montigny with it now. She finds Beals over to Donovan. Donovan misses again and makes the third attempt there. Third time's the charm, I guess, as she's going to get her 8th point of this one.
And probably her 8th rebound, too. That's one thing Bailey's always been good at, is if she doesn't make her shot, she's right there for the offensive rebound. She'll just put it in again.
As great defense there from Porter to shut down Matthias and snub that opportunity in the bud, as that is Porter who comes all the way down to the other end of the floor and makes that one. And right now I think the Broncos want it to get to halftime as soon as possible, Tyler, and get those few water breaks and take a rest for a minute as the Eagles here just continually make good defensive plays and then bring it all the way to the other end of the court. As that was Kablawi who made that one to make it 45-10, and they've hit double digits.
Yeah, Kablawi and Lazo each with 4.
And Donovan hits that double-digit mark as well, as she is currently equaling this entire Broncos team just on her own. Lazo works it over. Deep shot there by Kablawi off the front of the rim. Beals with it. Over to Montigny. Montigny finds Porter wide open in the corner, who's going to knock it down. And the Eagles go up 50-10 now. You can hear the coach there telling his team that they only got 90 seconds to play, and it's just what we were talking about. That not that they want to get off the court, but they kind of want to get that break at halftime and take those few minutes to recover, as that is something you do not want to see as Lazo goes down with a little bit of an injury. And so far this game, like you mentioned, Tyler, she's been really one of their better players, with most of their points coming between her and Kablawi, as her teammates are going to help her off the court here.
And as that now our athletic trainers carrying her over to the chair, and yeah, that's not what you want to see, as they're looking right at that knee area.
I think it's her knee and or lower ankle. It looked like she just kind of landed on it wrong a little bit as she went down kind of awkwardly. And for the Broncos, obviously, you don't want your teammate to get hurt, and then also in the game sense, they're now playing down a player, as it looks like that play a few plays ago with Montigny in the corner is actually going to be called a 2-point shot, as they've adjusted the scoreboard, but that 2-point there makes it a 51-12 ball game. As I think the Broncos are definitely want to just let this clock run out, as Porter works its way over to Beals, who knocks that one home from 3, 54-12, and she was wide open on that one.
That was actually Hannah Richards, not Beals.
That would be my bad, as I'm just getting back into it.
Hey, it's
Tyler.
okay. It's okay.
I've had a month off, so.
We all have, so it's okay. You know, stuff happens.
As that was a hard foul there. And I believe that was Matthias again. That'll be her fourth foul of this one as Montigny went down pretty hard on that one. And there's only 8 seconds left in this half, and imagine the Eagles up 54-12 now are really in no rush to score any points, but also points right here at the end of the half can
I think
work
it's
out
one
too.
of those things too. It's hard not to get yourself when you have 8 seconds left to be like, "Ooh, I can make a buzzer beater." You know, there's everyone in them as a basketball player wants to make a buzzer beater. So,
Well, the Eagles will go into halftime up 54-12. And Tyler, would you like to go over a few stats at halftime here?
yeah, sure, why not? Let's see. The leading point getter for the Eagles is Hannah Richards, as she has 13 points. Bailey Donovan has accomplished her double-double already with 10 points and 10 rebounds. Montigny and McVicker each have 5 points. Michaelan Porter has 7 points. Duarte has 4, and then Martinez, Lingle, Cook, Scalen, and Loring each with 2. For the flip side, Delhi, Kabali leads the Delhi scorers with 6 points. Olazlo has 4, and O'Shea has 2. The Eagles are shooting 47.8% from the field to the Delhi's 26.1. And before we go to break, I thought I'd bring up the out-of-town scoreboard for us here. See how other teams are doing in the conference, as all the schools from the West are either in Maine, or if you're SUNY Canton in the other school, you're in Linden. And then next week, vice versa. So all the Maine schools in Linden will go to New York. So in a matchup between Maine Maritime and the NAC champions from last year, the Mariners lead SUNY Poly 28-23 on the stroke of halftime. SUNY Canton leads Linden 34-20. Halftime up north, Presque Isle leads SUNY Cobleskill 40-38. And then out west in western Maine, Farmington leads Johnson 30-26. And then between Thomas and Casanova, well, I don't got a score for you, apparently. My apologies about that. But that is your look at the out-of-town scoreboard, as we will go to halftime break.
Yep. Thank you very much, Huey, and we'll be back in about 13 minutes or so don't go anywhere.
For those of you that were wondering, I do now have a Thomas Casanova score. It is currently 34-21, the Terriers, as they have just hit halftime in Waterville.
And welcome back to Husson University. I'm Avery Henningsen alongside Tyler Huey. And right now the Eagles are giving it to the SUNY Delhi Broncos as they're up 54-12. The Eagles are going to come out with Scanlon, Cook, McVicker, Lengel, and Schoberg out there, while the Broncos are now down to 5 players. They only started this game with 6, but an injury late in that first half to Lazo has taken them down to their last 5. And we talked about it amongst each other at halftime that this team is also in a little bit of foul trouble too, Tyler.
Yeah, Matthias with 4 fouls, Roche with 3. And you're going up against a very aggressive Eagles team. So
as Lengel makes a nice move there to get the first points of this second half. And like you said, with the Eagles being an aggressive team, they can kind of force you to make fouls against them, especially being down 44 now. Some tensions can get high, and you start to get a little bit frustrated even if you're trying to not allow yourself to get frustrated. That it can certainly be a hard middle ground there between playing strong and not taking your team down to 4 players.
And I will say, SUNY Delhi is doing a good job keeping their composure, not getting that frustrated. Because, I mean, it is easy to get frustrated in a game where you're down as much. I've done it several times. So you just got to focus on each possession and not really look at that scoreboard.
And a nice ball there into Scanlon, who lays that one up and in to make it 58-12. And that's Kablawi who knocks one in there for the Broncos to make it 58-14. This is Schoberg with it, working her way right up the middle of the court.
And Kablawi's having a really good game for the Delhi. Coming into this game, averaging 1.5 points per game, and she has 8. So she's getting her chance. Also averaging just under 15 minutes a game, and she's already played 22. Obviously kind of have to, but still taking advantage of that opportunity.
And McVicker finds its way up to Cook with a nice pass into Scanlon, up and in for the Eagles. 62-14, and that was a great heads-up play there from Lauren Cook, who we talked about in that first half as a newcomer for the Eagles, and those are the type of plays that you don't always see a player getting her first minutes make.
I think just about every other practice this Eagles team works on passing, and you're seeing it in moments like this. You know, not having to force any shots, look for the open person who can just lay it up and in.
McVicker with it now.
And that's something you're going to see in this second half is they're going to work down the shot clock. They're just going to work on trying to find the open person, trying to get opportunities like Lengel just had.
Yeah, and Lengel missed that opportunity, and she had Cook wide open in that corner, but I think that's another one of those. They're not used to her being out there, and it's just you're not always looking for that new player. As that shot is way off of the basket. But right now the Eagles are trying to get everybody involved.
And that's what you kind of have to do because, you know, concerns might be raised of them trying to run up the scoreboard. But at the same time, you're getting opportunities for players like Scanlon, like Lengel, who don't normally play all the time, that are trying to show, hey, I deserve to play more. So where do you draw that line in that? You know, you're going to see Martinez get back into the game. You're going to see Macy Beals get into the game. Faith Schoberg still trying to find her shooting touch here. You know, I doubt you'll see Vanessa. I doubt you'll see Bailey Donovan in the second half. So it's Kissy's going to do what she can to kind of take the foot off the gas, but it's hard not to score in basketball.
Well, there comes a point when obviously you're not trying to run up the score, and that's why you're not putting Donovan in there and telling her go full force. But at the same time, these are players who don't always get minutes, and if you're Coach Walker, you really just need to tell them, like, go out there and just play basketball. Don't think about the score. think of it's like it's almost practice and just
And
show,
that's what it
show
is.
me what you can do.
Because you can practice all you want against yourselves. It's nothing like playing a game. So these are valuable minutes for Lingle, Schoberg, Scanlon.
And a no-look pass and a 3 there as Lingle makes a great play as she finds Cook open on that one. She didn't miss her that time.
And really big for Cook. Seeing how she can adapt into this Eagles offense was really what we were looking at coming into this game.
Well, and it's also a big one for team morale and like teammanship that obviously she went on that trip with them to Florida, but she hasn't played a whole lot of basketball outside of practice with this team. And when you can get those plays where you get a high five from everybody, it really helps with morale and just getting her involved with the team. As a great little play there by the Eagles makes it a 53-point game. As Matthews tries for one there, but off of the backboard, and McVicker's going to find its way over to Schoberg, into Beals, or Scanlon, apologize, as she's going to take the easy layup there and make it a 69-16 ball game with 4:27 left in this third quarter.
And I think the takeaway from this game is the Eagles have done a really good job passing the ball.
You can certainly see it. They're not always, sometimes they have somebody open in the paint, but they're trying to work it around and get the whole team involved. And it's a little too easy to just feed Langle or Donovan right in the inside sometimes. They're trying to give themselves that practice that in some games there are going to be that one special player who can handle Donovan at least sometimes on the inside.
And then that's exactly why they schedule tough non-conference games. You know, you saw it if you watched the game down in Florida against WPI. Donovan only had, I want to say, 4 or 6 points that game, and she didn't really score till the fourth quarter. But the Eagles were able to stay in the game because others were making the shots. So guard her all you want, but if the players around her like Vanessa, like Porter, like Montigny can make their shots, it evens out.
And a great little pass and up and in there from Macy Beals to get her first points of the second half as the Eagles brought in a whole new group of 5 just a minute ago. And it's been different combinations every time. Obviously, there's players who come in at the same time together, but you can see Coach Walker is making sure she's not just putting in the same group of 5 every time. She's letting different teammates play with each other and get used to playing with each other. That there's not always going to be the Donovans and the Duarts of the world for this team, and some of the players out there are the players of the future for this Eagles
squad. And it's one thing she learned. I remember talking to her last year, right around this time when COVID was a problem, and this team was supposed to travel down to New York, weren't able to because of COVID issues, and she had to. She had a smaller team back then, so she kind of just had to throw whoever was out there. And I remember her telling me, as good as that was, I need to expand my bench. So then, no matter what happens, I'll be comfortable with whoever's on the court. And you're seeing that today. You're seeing, like you mentioned, so many different pairings that it's not been the same 5. I mean, you saw the starters play the first couple minutes, get the Eagles up in the lead, and then it's been, all right, what can I do with this?
And we'll take a little break here as the Broncos call a timeout on that last one just to try to readjust their team a little bit. It's good to see. I think that's Lazo up on her feet again. I saw her getting her ankle taped, but I don't think she's going to come back into this one. You never know, but we'll take a break.
No, the hope is that she'll be back for tomorrow, but we're not here. We're not doctors. We're not here to speculate.
Husson makes it a priority of theirs to make sure each of their students are well-rounded and that we're prepared to go into the future.
I mean, it's very rare to have a college that can emphasize the professor-student interaction, and Husson hits it right on the head.
Instead of just, sitting in the classroom, it's a great way to get hands-on experience. I'm actually out here doing things and seeing how things work.
After being here and meeting the people, I decided this is where I wanted to be, that there was no better option for me.
And welcome back. Welcome back here in this one as the Eagles lead 73-16. That was a timeout there by the Broncos, and they've had the same five out there for this whole second half so far, and they've certainly gotten a lot of minutes, and it's definitely going to change their statistics a little bit when looking back at this one. That you were saying before that there's players who are getting more minutes than they normally do, and that's going to continue. As Loring tries to work her way inside, but good defense there by the Broncos to knock that one away.
Yeah, and Delhi too, they're missing some key people here. Juliana Severino,
Flansburgh as well.
Averaging 10 minutes a game. Flansburgh averaging 15 minutes a game. And those minutes got to go somewhere. And when Laszlo's out now and she's averaging 29 minutes a game, then who does that give you?
As that was Bryant who tried to make a move inside, but...
Oh, and also Lennon. And Lennon has 13 minutes a game. So there's roughly 40, 50 minutes. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like a math guy, but those minutes got to go somewhere.
As Porter's going to take the shot there, rebounded by Duarte. Over towards Beals, who takes that shot off of the backboard, and some nice hustle there by Porter, but just a little bit too far for her. As you can see this Eagles team, even though with the game in hand, they're still hustling out there on the court, and they're still giving their all, even despite the fact that they've all but clinched this game. And it shows a lot to Coach Walker's coaching that her players, even up 60, are still playing like they're down 1 or 2.
Oh, yeah, you're not going to see honestly, you're not going to see a Husson basketball team give up. They're always going to give it their all, and they're always going to try to score every possession, whether they're down 50, up 50, or whatever it is. That's the culture here that both Kissy Walker and Warren Caruso have built here.
And Loring misses that shot. It seems to be a little pocket of space the Eagles have been finding a lot in this one, is that little spot in between the 3-second arc and the free throw line that they seem to often get players open right there so far in this one. And it's allowing them to take those short little shots from right on at the basket. And a deep shot there from Jennifer Roche, as she's going to net some of her first points of the game. And that was a big one from them to get up on it. And the bench here for the Broncos is getting into it a little bit as Kablawi knocks that one down a little bit. But it's good for them, even down 50 now, that they're still feeling engaged in the game.
And like I told you, this is their opportunity to play against arguably on paper the best team in the NAC. So you're getting your opportunity to see where you want to be one day.
There's that little pocket of space there from Loring, who works it out to Beals, who knocks that one down for the Eagles.
Beals finally gets her 3. That was her 3rd attempt to make one. You can kind of see the relief face she had when that went in.
And Mulligan drops that one in. That's 2 for her now with not much time. That she's knocked down some tough shots from pretty deep, and you can see the bench, and some of the SUNY Delhi men's basketball players are out here in uniform now over on the sidelines, that they're definitely getting hype for her on that one.
Yeah, and she took some contact hit to the face, so an impressive shot to make it here, and
she misses that free throw, and it's going to be Eagles ball now, but it's good that this team is even down big. They're sticking with it, and they're getting that excitement built up in the last few minutes, it seems. Duar over to Beals in the quarter, inside to Loring, who makes that one with just about 1 second left to play, and they're going to let the clock run all the way down there. And the Eagles are now up 78-23 after that last second basket.
so as we're at the end of the third quarter, let's take another look around the conference here. There we go. Maine Maritime has pulled away from SUNY Poly now, leading 49-32 in the third quarter. All these games are going to be in the third quarter, right around the same time. Either start at 5:30, or whatever. Canton leads Linden 46-24. Thomas is up on Casanova 45-31. The game of the day is probably up north, where Cobleskill leads Presque Isle 59-56. Of course, this Delhi team, when they get done here, they're making that trip up there, and Cobleskill coming down here. And then Farmington leads Johnson 44-42.
And that Cobleskill Umpy game is the one to watch if you're an Eagles fan. That Cobleskill team is certainly not a team it's a team to look out for. That they're a very talented roster, and they're one of the powers in that West Division that the Eagles are going to have to watch out for.
Yeah, and anytime the West gets an opportunity to face off against Husson in men's basketball, you know it's circled on your calendar. You know, the West Division on paper isn't as talented as the East Division. And, but what it is this is more of there's a closer fall off between 1 and 2 in the West than there is in the East. You know, where the East has the Eagles and Maine Maritime, the West, all 5 kind of can give each other a good game. So this is their opportunity to see, all right, how do we match up against Maine Maritime and Husson?
And the Eagles coming out with a new group of 5 as we see some of those starters in Donovan, Richards, and Montigny, as well as Schoberg and Layla Martinez. That, like I was saying earlier, that they're bringing in different combinations so that players can get to play with each other. You don't always want to have it be, this is our 5 that play together on the court. You want to be able to have those players come in off the bench and know each other.
And this, I think, is one of the shortest lineups I've seen Husson. Actually, let me rephrase that. This might be the shortest lineup that Husson can put out there with Bailey Donovan. Kind of hard to say a short lineup when Bailey's out there, but the other 4 might be the shortest players to put out with Bailey Donovan.
As Richards makes about the easiest layup of her life there, as she was wide open at the other end of the court, and you can see some of the fatigue is starting to set in here in the fourth quarter, that the Eagles keep having these 2v1s, 3v2s, and this is good for them here to slow it down a little bit and play like you'd be playing a team that hasn't been playing with 5 players for the last 30 minutes or so. That you don't want your team to get used to having these 3v1 breakaways, and that's how you play basketball.
No, but you want them to get used to an opportunity where if you have that open layup like Hannah Richards had, I know you mentioned it was the easiest layup of her life, but have you ever been on one of those layups? There's pressure on you because you are expected to score. If you don't score that, you're going to get laughed at. So you may think it's the easiest 2 points of your life. I'd like to argue it might be the hardest 2 points.
As you saw, Richards at the other end of the court on a very similar play that she could have taken herself, showed some good camaraderie and gave that over to Martinez to get her involved a little bit with this offense.
Yeah, the Eagles were 26 assists in today's game. And I think assist is a hard thing to track, and I bet you...
Coming into this one, they were only averaging about 17.5 per game, so
and I think that's the big takeaway.
Number.
I think that's the thing that if you ask Kissy Walker at the end of the game, all right, what were you proud of the most? I think she'd say the passing. I really do. I think that's almost 10 assists over the average, and we still have 6-7 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, and you saw in that one, I saw Bailey Donovan, who's obviously one of the leaders on this team, move with her hands to slow that offense down a little bit and not just let them come around and get those easy 2v1 plays like we just saw right there. That obviously Donovan's going to make that in her sleep, but she slowed that.
I'm going to ask this question.
They passed it around and got those good points.
And I did not mean to cut you off, but I'm not the only one thinking it. How many people thought somehow Bailey was going to dunk that? I can't be the only person in this gym that thought Bailey was not going to at least attempt to dunk it there.
It certainly would have been something to see at this D3 level, and I don't think I have ever seen something like that before.
All right, sorry. I had to point that out.
I think if that was Scott Lewis on the fast break, we might have seen the dunk.
Oh, totally. But I think Bailey has some jump. I think
she could make it.
If she really had to, I think she could dunk.
As that was a foul there on, I believe that was Donovan, but I'm not exactly sure, but it's going to be.
It was on Donovan. That's her second.
And obviously the Eagles aren't all that worried about foul trouble in this one. It's not a close game that you're going to need Donovan in those final few minutes. And obviously she's not all that close to foul trouble, but I wouldn't be surprised if this group of 5 comes out around that 4-minute mark or so and they keep another group in for that final few minutes of the game.
Yeah, and you feel for the Delhi players now. You'll notice on that 3 throw there was only one person lined up on the inside there, and that's because all the other ones were getting a drink. You can just, like you mentioned earlier, you can tell the fatigue is there. As Bailey, what was she attempting there?
I think she lost her balance a little bit, and it would have been a very miraculous layup if she had somehow made that. But you can see the Eagles are just working on passing it around right now. They're not trying to take that first shot. Even if it's open, they're trying to work it around that whole offense and get everybody involved with the play.
No, they're doing a really impressive job in having everyone touch the ball. You know, in rec ball or, you know, the lower levels in a blowout like this, I know coaches will go, all right, everyone has to touch the ball before someone shoots it. It almost seems like that rule's in effect here. They're just doing such a good job to the passing to make that happen.
And that's Richards who's going to take that shot. And she hasn't shot in quite a while. And that one will go off the rim. And here comes, I believe that's 4 new players out there. As it's Schoberg who's going to stay out, while McVicker, along with Cook, Lengel, and Scanlon are all going to come out onto the court. And I would not be surprised if this group stays out there for most of it. At least I think Cook's going to stay out there for most of it and let her just finish out this game and keep getting that confidence for her with a new team to let that build in this one.
Yeah, and then Cook's that has this, English is hard sometimes. Cook has had a good debut in the green, in gold. You know, we're talking 5 points in 11 minutes, a couple assists. So nothing you can't really complain about.
But I think for the Eagles that but the Cobleskill game tomorrow is probably going to be a lot closer. And obviously you don't know Cook that well if you're Coach Walker. She's only been with the program for a couple of weeks, and in a close game like that, she might not get as many opportunities to play. But in one like this where it's all but it's obviously over at this point in terms of the final outcome, that it allows Cook to get those valuable minutes.
Yeah, and I think Coach Walker, in her mind and her coaching staff, I think they have a general idea of where they want Cook to be. It's just you gotta ease your way to it. You know, no player is just gonna come into any program and be like a superstar immediately. You know, especially at a program like this, you got to ease your way in. Even Bailey Donovan, when she came here, she didn't always start when she was a freshman. She eased her way in.
Well, also an important thing that I had played organized sports for years coming into college, that it's a mentality thing with the team too. It's hard when you bring in that new player and they instantly take somebody else's role on the court or on the field, that you can't just bring in a new player no matter how good they are and just stick them in there and not expect there to be a little bit of, well, she took that person's job, unless she proves that spot. And if she can prove that she should be a starter on the team, then the team will understand if she takes somebody else's role.
And obviously, we've only seen her play one game here today, and 12, 13. She'll probably finish with like 15 minutes. But we're seeing why Kissy Walker wants her on the program as she hits that three. So we're seeing exactly why, and you're seeing all our teammates high-five her there.
As Price will enter the game for Schoberg, who was the only one out of that last group of 5 to not come off the court there. As the Eagles are going to take a 30-second timeout, I believe. And we'll play a quick ad here.
Selling is all about relationships and building trust. At Greenway, it's our people that have built the business. We're fortunate to have a team with years of experience. They know John Deere equipment inside and out and go the extra mile to take care of our customers.
And right now is a great time to talk to one of us about a new tractor. Get 0% APR financing for 72 months on a John Deere compact utility tractor. Nothing runs like a Deere.
From Greenway Equipment Sales, family owned and operated since 1994.
And welcome back here to Newman Gymnasium. The Eagles lead this one 95-27 in a blowout, as the Broncos have only had 5 players out on the court for much of the second half and late first half. And obviously the fatigue has been setting in for quite a while now, but the Eagles have also made that much harder by bringing in a new set of 5 players. It seems like every 3 minutes or so, Coach Walker's allowing them to get in there, feel like they're playing for a while, and then come back out with a new group of 5. And the Eagles have been passing the ball great. They've been playing good defense, and they've made some pretty nice offensive plays out there.
Yeah, you look at the stats here. Every single player but Sydney Loring has played at least 10 minutes. And Sydney is not much behind. She's played 9 minutes. So you look at that. That's 14 different players. The game high for minutes is 15, and that's not even Bailey Donovan. That's McVicker, Scanlon, and Price.
And that sometimes is a really key part of a team's schedule too, that obviously the Eagles are about to enter that conference part of their schedule. And when you can get everybody involved in a game like this, it allows them to keep that camaraderie, and it allows players to stay engaged, that if you're just sitting on the bench watching your teammates play all the time, it can start to wear on you a little bit. But when you have a game like this where everybody's playing, it doesn't matter. who you are, if you're Bailey Donovan or if you're a freshman player who just came onto the team, that it's allowing them to all get engaged with the program.
And you know the other big thing that it allows you? You stay fresh. If you look at the Cobleskill versus Umpy game right now, Cobleskill has 4 different players that will probably reach about 30 minutes played tonight.
Yeah, and they're going to have to turn right around after that game and drive through the snow and sleet and stuff and come down to Bangor to play tomorrow afternoon. And we'll see if that has any effect on that game. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit, that they're not going to have, the Eagles are going to be able to come into the game having played a game, knocked off some rust after the long winter break, but also stayed fresh with the whole roster out there.
And they're coming off the Eagles are one of their better games so far in the non-conference stretch, where they beat King's College by 30. And you got to see a game like this today. You know, just about everybody played 10 or so minutes, minus Cook, of course, but everyone got their opportunities to score. And if you look, I believe everybody but Carly Price got on the scoreboard today, and you can't say Carly didn't try. She just went 0 for 5. But she helped out in other ways, you know, with 4 assists and 3 steals.
Yeah, and the Broncos at this point are just trying to run this clock out and get this one over with. Sure, the Eagles wouldn't mind having one last crack at getting to the century mark in this one, but they're not going to have much time left in this game.
I think they're just going to hold the ball here. The players, is Lingle really? Oh. Okay, I know they were going to hold the ball, but that would have been hilarious if Lingle makes that 3.
And the Eagles are going to come away with the 97-27 victory, a 70-point gap in this one as they controlled the game all the way through. And we saw some players who we don't always see out there have some valuable minutes and make some great plays. And we'll be right back here next week, or tomorrow, I mean.
I was going to say, hold on here. You know you got 3 more games coming up before next week. And we don't even have any next week. Unless you're going to New York and I don't know about this.
Yeah, I've actually had some conversations, but.
Oh, have you now?
The Eagles will be playing tomorrow against SUNY Cobleskill, who is in a tight one up in Umpy. And
Hey, don't be spoiling my out-of-town scoreboard over there.
Oh, I won't, Tyler. But we're going to get underway in about 30 minutes as the Husson men's basketball team will take on the Delhi Broncos men's basketball team, who, just looking at it right now, have a lot more than 5 players out there, and it will certainly most likely be a tighter matchup in this second half of this nightcap.
Yeah, so why don't we take a look real quick at the final stats before we sign off, and we probably eat something here. So the leading point getter today was freshman Hannah Richards. She had 15 points on 6 of 9 shooting. Bailey Donovan gets another double-double with 12 points and 10 rebounds. Jordan Lingle came close to a double-double with 8 points and 11 rebounds. Other things that stand out, Layla Martinez, Carly Price, and Jordan Lingle each also had 4 assists. As I mentioned before, just about everybody for the Eagles played about 10 minutes. Eagles had 25 offensive rebounds to Delhi's 4. 30 assists for the Eagles to Delhi's 7. It was a very good result for the Eagles considering the situation. Now let's take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard real quick before we sign off here. And that one that Avery hinted at, Cobleskill has actually started to pull away a little bit with Umpy trying to catch back. It's 77-72 in the fourth quarter as a layup there for Umpy now makes it 77-74 with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Down in Castine, it's now a 20-point game for Maine Maritime, 66-46.
And they're handing it right now to the reigning NAC champions, and they're definitely.
This Eagles team will go down to next weekend, as that'll be a rematch of the NAC championship. Canton leads Linden 61-29. Thomas over Casanova in about a one-win program, 60-42. And Johnson, they have not led, I don't think, all night. They have a 1-point lead over Farmington with 40 seconds left.
Well, some close matchups to keep an eye on, and we'll sign off here. In about 26 minutes, the Husson men's team will take on the Delhi Broncos men's team, but it's been a pleasure having you. I've been Avery Henningsen alongside Tyler Huey.
We real quick here before we sign off want to take a moment to thank today's game sponsors. Performance PT, designing a healthier you. Greenway Equipment Sales in Ellsworth and Bangor, nothing runs like a deer. Governor's Restaurant, life's short, eat dessert first. And Casella, giving resources new life. As Avery mentioned, we'll be back here in about 25 minutes for the men's game. And then tomorrow we're back for another a conference doubleheader between Cobleskill and Husson. And then on Tuesday, January 17th, it's the final non-conference matchup of the year and the final single game of the year at home, as the men's team will take on Colby.